How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about ChargePoint, which finished flat on the Friday, only being up like 3 cents. But if you remember from my previous video, I was saying, should you buy the fear or steer clear? Shout out to all of my investors out there, and as well as traders that took advantage of the dip, because since then, this stock has ran up quite a bit. I won't be wasting any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in a bearish case scenario and as well as in a bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for ChargePoint. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at $11.02, being up 0.27%. On the low, it tested $10.30, and then on the high, testing $11.29. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 10.776 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 12.055 million shares. So we did have below average volume on the day, and we still saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 40.85. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 50-day, the 100-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So it's clear to see that ChargePoint is in a bear market, trading below all of our major moving averages. If you remember my previous video, ChargePoint was trading well below $10. It was in the $8 range. And I was saying, hey, do you buy the fear or do you steer clear? And congratulations to those who bought the fear. We have seen quite the run up since then. You can see that we had a high of $11.29. So if we continue to see some strength in ChargePoint for this coming week, I would love for it to get to the 21-day EMA, which is right here at 12 bucks. But again, we need to have market strength. And if it can continue to gain some more momentum, then the next resistance you want to keep an eye on will be right here around 1260. Now, if we decide to consolidate now, since we have been on quite the run up, you're going to want to see support holding up at 10 bucks. On the low for the Friday was at $10.30. So breaking through that level, we'd want to see $10 hold. But if ChargePoint did break below 10 bucks, that's where we could have that possibility where we can go down to testing back into the $8 range. Again, not a bad area whatsoever. Definitely deserves some consideration for my investors out there. But for the most part, ChargePoint does look pretty solid. It is on a good uptrend. So now we want to see this continue for the coming week. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for ChargePoint. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 20th, we have some closed position here, but we have Fortitude Advisory Group, LLC, that purchased 1,929 shares. We'll also take a look at the 19th real quick. We have Gotham Hedge Plus Fund Institutional Class with a short position of 994 shares, and we also have CARZ First Trust Nasdaq Global Auto Index Fund that purchased 26,241 shares. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 57.85%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.83 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 450,000, updated 17 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 5.69%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 19th, it was at 52.60, and then for the close of the 20th, being at 50 57.85. So it has creeped up. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 15.22%, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution.
Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for ChargePoint. So we see on the inflow, it was at 13.19 million, and then on the outflow, it was at 10.18 million. So it was an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 1.97 million. On the medium, it was 5.99 million, and then on the small, it was 5.23 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 0. On the medium, it was 4.49 million, and then on the small, it was 5.69 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for May the 20th, we had that inflow of 1.97 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then for the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 3.21%. So this is a normal range for a stock like ChargePoint. It does see a good amount of volatility as well. But one thing that is clear, which we talked about inside of the technicals, is still showing some strength, especially since it's had a recent run up and it looks to be consolidating. So let's move on to the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for ChargePoint, when it comes to the price action, we ended up seeing a high of $11.29 on the Friday. We also have the 21-day EMA, which is right at $12. So I would love to see ChargePoint making a move to $12 prior to earnings. Earnings is supposed to be coming out on May the 31st. So just knowing that we could have that possible anticipation to get to that level is very interesting. Of course, I'm not guaranteeing this, so I want to make sure I'm being clear about that. Now, if we decide to have a pullback or we want to consolidate, we ended up seeing a low of around $10.30. So we definitely want to see this level hold, and forming a higher low going into Monday would be a good look for the play overall. But if we have weakness inside of these markets, even if we pull back to $10, if we're showing support there, that is still not bad either. ChargePoint can move very quickly in a short period of time. That has been a clear sign over and over again. When I was talking about it in my previous video about buying the fear or steer clear, it was trading in the $8 range. And many of you said that, you know what, I added big time to my position. Many of you just got into buying some shares, and I know many of you were also swinging it. So definitely you are seeing some profit right now. But if you are a swing trader, I'm going to remind you, have a good idea where your stop loss is going to be, and just make sure that you're not letting a green trade go red on you, because we know there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of uncertainty inside of these markets. So if you go ahead and say, well, you know what, nah, this stock is going to continue to go up, and you're not protecting yourself to the downside, the only person you need to blame is yourself. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we could see that institutions have been loading up on shares. And plus, on top of that, taking a look at the short interest information, ChargePoint does continue to have short squeeze potential. And we know shorts are going to continue to be all over this play as long as we have these volatile markets and we have the tech sector that's continuing to get rocked. I was watching the SPY on the Friday where it tested a low of 380 and then ended up having a rally towards the end of the day. So many are saying, well, you know what, that is the bottom. 380 is the bottom. Maybe for the short term, but I see a lot more downside for these markets. I could be wrong on that, but I want to make sure that I'm not being naive and I'm keeping you guys inside of the know. I'm not that type of channel that's going to tell you, well, you know what, this stock is going to continue to go up. You have nothing to worry about. I feel that is very fake, and I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the real deal. You already know I have high conviction when it comes to ChargePoint, and while it's trading at these particular price levels, it's definitely an opportunity that you need to consider. But don't consider it if you're not going to do your research and if you're not going to be doing your homework. I want to make sure that you have high conviction, because at least if it pulls back, if it decides to go back to $8 or even going to $7, you won't be worried. You won't be panicking. You'll be like, you know what? I'm buying this dip because I believe in this company. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs for the coming week. We'll talk soon.